Diane Tavenner is the co-founder and CEO of Summit Public Schools, a nationally recognized nonprofit that operates 15 middle and high schools in California and Washington. She developed a school model centered on real-world experiences, self-direction, collaboration, and reflection, preparing all students to succeed in college, thrive in today's workplace, and lead a secure and fulfilled life. What are your thoughts about college admissions in the U.S. today? And what would you say to parents and teens who spend high school and sometimes even middle school worried that any bad grade or detour will ruin their chances to have the future they want? I was just at a cocktail party and had a parent say to me about our junior kids, this is the most important year of their entire lives. Their whole futures depend on this year.
That statement is understandable because there's so many messages in our society that make that parent and many parents believe that is true. So I would just start like, look, this is a really complex topic that we could spend days on just by itself. And so at the risk of oversimplifying, I think that a couple of key thoughts here. One, college degrees are still incredibly valuable. And so there is a real truth and importance to making sure college is an option for kids. And you know, the college system is struggling right now, and the value proposition might be shifting because the rising costs and then, you know, job prospects and income prospects are starting to get a little out of whack. But nonetheless, it's still, at this moment in time, the best, you know, pathway to economic stability that Americans have, really. And so college is important. There's no doubt about that. That said, the sort of top 50 colleges in America, the brand name colleges, are in many ways distorting and contorting behavior of schools and systems and parents and people by the system and the game that they are sort of playing. And the reality is they're serving an incredibly small percentage of our kids collectively. And so I think the first thing is as families to recognize that that's happening and try to kind of pull ourselves out of that madness, if you will. And I think the way to pull ourselves out of that is to think about fit, which we talked about earlier, and instead of trying to be a brand name, but think about fit. But then the second piece of advice I would give is, you know, let's say you do want to go to one of those top 50 schools. I would argue that the best chance you have of that is doing something that most people aren't doing. So that mom that you were talking to, her approach, I guarantee it, is that she's trying to mold her child to be what those colleges want. And I know that sounds weird, but like, she's looking at what she thinks those colleges want and all these messages, and she's trying to get her child to do that. And that's why she's making those statements. This year is so important because they have to be taking all these right classes, and they have to be getting these right grades, and they have to have these activities, and they, you know, and it's like a mold that society thinks that the child needs to fit in order to get into those schools. As opposed to figuring out, like, who am I and what do I have to offer that is unique and that is me? And, you know, what are my skills and talents? What am I best at? What am I passionate about? And then, like, offering that up and seeing what fits that. And what's interesting about that is what those colleges truly want are those kids that are like that. They don't want the kids who all look the same next to each other, you know, just maybe slightly better than each other, but the same. They're looking for those unique kids, but so many kids are trying to mold themselves that they don't even know who they are anymore because they're just trying to be what the colleges want. And so if you really want to crack that top 50 code, this is the strategy, is not to try to be like everyone else, but actually really to discover who you are and what you want and what you have to offer, and to go into it and approach it like, which of you actually fits me? And I would argue you can't win with that. You can't lose with that strategy, because you will find a good fit that way, and you won't have like made yourself look like everyone else and put yourself in direct competition against them. So that would be my best advice of sort of gaming the system, if you will.
That's great. Now this goes back to something that you started with, but I'm just going to ask it again so that it's in a little package here. A focus of our magazine is preparing teens to launch in the world. What does that mean to you? What skills do you consider necessary for a teen to be prepared to live independently?
No, it's great. I'm so excited that that's what you guys are focused on, because that's obviously what I am focused on as well. Is I want to prepare kids for the launch into adulthood. And I think there's 4 big things that we think that the science and the evidence and then our experience suggests kids need to be launching into adulthood. And the first is these universal skills. So the ability to think critically and solve problems and communicate effectively, some good knowledge about the world that they can apply, these habits of success that enable them to be, move about in the world in a successful way, and then a concrete next step that actually matches who they are, their self-knowledge, their purpose. So those are the things we think that prepare them. And what I'm trying to prepare them for is a good life. A life that is really marked by 5 key things. 1, that it's filled with meaningful, purposeful work that matters to them. So every day they get to do something that is meaningful to them. 2, enough financial security that they, are safe from being in a fragile state. Mm-hmm. 3, a community, whatever that community is, but that they're part of a community. And 4, that they have strong interpersonal relationships. And then 5, that they have the health to go about their daily life. And that really is what defines a fulfilled good life. It'll be different for every one of us. And so figuring out what it means for each of us is what we think is important. And that's what we are preparing them for.
My final question, my daughter is school kid. She loves everything about school, shopping for supplies, organizing notes, completing assignments. So she's talked about being a teacher for a long time. She's only 13, so not that long. But my older son does not feel that school is a great fit for him. It's been quite a struggle since middle school. He recently got diagnosed with ADHD, but he also has said that he might work in education, trying to make a school that works for a kid like him. Mm-hmm. So I would like to know what you say to teens that you meet who want to pursue careers in education.
Mm-hmm. Well, we actually are super committed to this. So we have a expeditions program that lets our students explore this. Mm-hmm. And then we have created our own teacher credentialing program, and we actually recruit our alums back to become teachers. So it's a big part of what we believe in. And we've involved our kids in the design process of our schools. So first of all, I'm always excited when people want to go into education, because we need, I think, the best talent in the world. And so I'm super excited about that. I think what I would say to both of them is, I think where you start as an educator is your own personal experience. And your 2 kids kind of typify, like, one, school works really well for one of them, so they want to be in school. And for the other one, it didn't work so well, so I want to design something that would have worked better. And both are really powerful motivations. The thing that they'll have to learn and develop and grow is to recognize that all kids are not like them. And so how do they actually think about a system that is good for them and for the other kids? And that will be their area of growth, I think, and where they can truly become amazing educators is when they can be really empathetic to, really grounded in their own experience, and then empathetic with other